Hello to everyone and the internet, and you are watching The Young Globalist. I'm Nathan of Washington, and it is time for the news. Alright! The United States is hopeful for peace with Taliban. There have been peace talks with the Taliban with the help of the Arab-born U.S. Representative Zalmay Khalilzad. Zalmay Khalilzad. Those names, damn it, those names. He is cautiously optimistic because he knows what these people are like and he knows what to expect. But if this works, we will be ending a 17-year-old, not to mention unnecessary, war and conflict. Which would be an amazing achievement. Personally, I hope Trump gets directly involved somehow. I hope that he busts his negotiating chops like he did in North Korea. The first time in North Korea. The second time was because of the frickin' sanctions. If we hadn't sanctioned North Korea, a country that is literally starving anyway, sanctions cause countries to starve. But watch Trump negotiate that shit twice. And also watch him negotiate this. He'll manage it. I suppose my expectations are too high. I shouldn't let them get too high because then I'll fall, make the mountain so high that when you fall off, it really hurts when you reach the bottom. Well, yeah, that could be a situation of that, more or less. But I'm just hoping, man, that Zalmay Khalilzad, got it, and Trump are finally able to end this 17-year-old piece of shit war that we shouldn't even started in the first place. Moving on. U.S. and Australia to establish a joint Pacific naval base. And this is in response to the Chinese being huge dicks about their Pacific territory and trade routes, essentially making things difficult for anyone but them. Now, I don't know what's going on with China, but they've been assholes having their ships ram other people's ships, demanding that they not fly over, essentially being super territorial with the trade routes, which, according to international law, belong to everyone. Mind you, this may have an effect on government overreach and the possibility of war. This might cause an increase in government authority, and of course, the possibility of a trade war with China, or maybe even worse than just a trade war. Maybe even far worse. The base, thankfully, is well within U.S. territory, on one of the islands near Papua New Guinea. But that puts us in a good position to keep our Pacific trade routes uninfringed by the Chinese and their generally just dickish behavior of late. But they might choose to escalate if we force them to. They might choose to continue to respond and to escalate the situation into an unnecessary conflict. I'm hoping they don't. I'm sincerely hoping that they be the better man and not turn this into an unnecessary war. But this is China we're talking about. They'll cross the line. They'll keep going. I'm hoping that they get smart and realize that what they're doing is a bad idea. I don't even know what the hell's going on. No one really knows what's going on. All we know is that they're just being giant dicks about their territory, where they never were before. Or at least not to this level. Anyway, moving on. The CIA has linked the Khashoggi murder to the Saudi crown prince. However, the link itself may in fact be false. Trump himself suggests that the link is too soon. Like maybe they should keep digging before they make that claim. Consider the possibility of a CIA false flag with intentions for making an actual attack against Saudi Arabia. Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past the CIA to create a false flag. Any other president would be going for it. Not Trump, though, because he's not your typical politician. He's a businessman. He was not educated in one of these fancy schools. As to why the Crown Prince would want Khashoggi dead, well, Khashoggi was a journalist. He was a journalist working for one of our newspaper firms. So naturally, the Crown Prince might want him dead for the sake of silencing him, should he uncover anything that would make him look bad. Or perhaps he saw Khashoggi, since Khashoggi was an Arab himself, and seeing him working for a U.S. firm, decided that, oh, maybe Khashoggi was a traitor to his people. So there could be reasons, and CIA could be right, but I would think this could be a false flag attempt. As for what Trump should do, I think Trump should use his authority as president to make the CIA to continue digging. Prevent them from calling it off early and then just going straight for the Crown Prince, because you know they'll try it. He should convince them to keep digging and prevent a potential disaster. Similar to the Bay of Pigs or Project Iraqi Freedom. Moving on. The Yellow Vest riots, which have halted France completely. Currently, the entire country, not just the government, the entire country of France is no longer operating. It is in complete disarray. And an update on this situation, as I reported on yesterday, there are now 100 people injured, upgraded from the previous 41. And one 61-year-old woman dead. The one reported dead yesterday turns out to be some 61-year-old chick who was killed during the riots. And this was done over a recent tax on fuel price, which has driven the French fuel prices up to absurd levels, to well above where they should be. The Germanic pagan guru and overall just very intelligent human being, although somewhat morally dubious, Varg Vikernes, yesterday did a video, since he's currently living in France, about what's going on over there. France basically currently does not exist because it is no longer functioning, and we are looking at what could be a third French Revolution. Hopefully not as bloody as the first two. Hopefully. Moving on. Theresa May of England is saying that her husband and alcoholism, or just alcohol anyway, maybe not alcoholism, but just regular old alcohol, got her through Brexit. So let me get this straight. Drinking booze, I could see how your husband might help you, but drinking booze apparently got you through. Now mind you, I drink booze occasionally. It helps me to relax. Alcohol is very relaxing. But I don't see how it could honestly get someone through something like Brexit. And people talking about her possibly being ousted, and she's saying that would delay Brexit more and more. I say that Britain should exit the European Union because the European Union's a nightmare. Anyway, moving on. Trump claims that he did not know that Attorney General Pick Whitaker had anti-Mueller leanings when he hired him to serve as acting Attorney General. Now, while I actually am a Trump supporter, I do not actually believe Trump in the slightest on this one. While he may not be a traditional politician, Trump's a crafty one. Trump's a crafty one. He would use plausible deniability to cover up the fact that he'd be hiring an attorney general, even if only an acting attorney general, that would be acting in his best interest, and then claim to not know. That would be perfect plausible deniability. It could potentially even work in court to say that I either don't know or don't remember in most cases. Because you can't prove that he doesn't know, and you can't prove that he wouldn't remember. Therefore, that would provide him with perfect plausible deniability. That he did in fact choose an attorney general, if only in an acting capacity, until a more permanent choice, that would be acting in his best interest, knowingly. Moving on. The Florida recount has ended with Ron DeSantis defeating Andrew Gillum via concession. So the Democrats called for a recount like they did with the presidential election, and look what it got them. Zilch. Jack shit. The Republican candidate still won. So the Republicans are not only idiots and corrupt, but they're also grossly incompetent and do not know what the hell they are doing. They're butthurt little babies. And why anyone would want to vote for them at this point is absolutely beyond me. Anyway, folks, that's it for the Unglobalist today. Tschüss.